Hello, and welcome to Stocks and Tarot. On this channel, we explore the world of stock markets through tarot, focusing mainly on the US S&P 500 index. This is the first video of a brand new channel, and I hope you enjoy it. My name is Derek, and I'm a mystic and a clairvoyant. I'm also an investor. I'm very passionate about tarot, and I'm also very passionate about finance. As a mystic and a clairvoyant, I've used tarot as a divination tool for more than 7 years. I've been giving readings to friends and family for over 20 years. And in addition to tarot, I use other divination tools also, such as numerology and psychometry, just to mention a couple. As for my investing journey, I started investing in 2006, and I survived the great financial crisis of 2008. That was a brutal period, to say the least, but I learned an awful lot about markets, and I learned a lot about economics, and I've seen uptrends and downtrends, and I've climbed the wall of worry on countless occasions. For a while now, since the beginning of the 2022 bear market, I've been doing tarot spreads to seek guidance about the stock markets and to see what the cards have to say about where the markets could be going. I'm also interested in what they have to say regarding some of the volatility and headwinds the markets have been seeing so far this year. I really needed to know or get an idea if this is going to end or what direction this is going, if we're in for the long term or in for the short term. And the cards have a tendency to give some very profound and accurate messages, at least in my opinion. As I've done spreads of the markets, concerning the markets for the last little while, I've taken the time-stamped photos of the spreads and I posted them on my Stocks and Tarot Facebook page. I've done this to create a record of the tarot messages while I spend time doing the necessary background work and preparation for the premiere of this YouTube channel. For each reading, I've meditated on the spread and I've noted my intuitive interpretations, always from a financial perspective. Then, a while later, I've gone back and I posted a follow-up to each of the readings. The challenging part is the interpretation of the cards, and that's where intuition comes in. To me, it's uncanny how the tarot cards speak to the current and possible future states of the markets. For this, my first video, we're going to take a look at the tarot spread I did for September 20th, 22. This is a perfect example of the type of readings I'm going to be doing on this channel. And it speaks to the near term and then over the next few months as well. So it's there's some interesting insights I gleaned from this particular spread. So we're going to be covering that today. Now on September the 20th was the day before Fed Chair Jay Powell was to speak at the Jackson Hole FOMC meeting. Now, this was a pivotal speech as Powell was going to announce the size of the latest interest rate hike, which is the last couple have been very significant and historically large, and it's rattled the markets significantly this year, all these rate hikes. And so this was going to be the latest one announced. It was pretty certain that the response to the contents of Jay Powell's speech would set the direction for the market, at least in the near term. Anyway, be sure to stick around for the end of this video. That's where I'm going to give my final prediction based on this spread as to where I see things going and how this spread spoke to that speech, in addition to how it spoke to the markets from now and moving into the next few months. Anyway, the question I asked the tarot was, how will the markets react after Fed Chair Jay Powell speaks at the FOMC meeting on September 21st? Now, here are the cards I pulled. I pulled three jumper cards. Jumper cards are cards that just jump out of the deck, and they tend to, while you're shuffling, and they tend to send a powerful message. For me, jumpers are very important cards. They frame the spread in the reading. They set the tone. I use them for clarity as a touchstone to help determine the meanings of other cards in the spread. So I find the jumper cards very powerful. And these particular jumper cards leapt out one after another in rapid succession at the beginning of the shuffle. And it was very strong. So I definitely paid attention to these cards, and they were actually consistent with other spreads I've done over the last while, and the fact that they were rather positive, very positive messages. So that tells me that coming down the pipe, there's a lot of bright sunshine and brightness coming. There is light at the end of this tunnel. But anyway, I digress. So 3 jumper cards popped out. Now, the first jumper that came out of the deck was the Page of Wands. Now, the Page of Wands represents someone who's adventurous and ambitious. He's energetic and active, and this card symbolizes new beginnings. And in a finance reading, the Page of Wands indicates the money's coming in. There's excitement coming, fresh ideas. There's energy. It symbolizes in finance a new journey or adventure, new starts. So I thought that was a very powerful message to receive. The second jumper that came out was the King of Wands. Now, the King of Wands represents leadership, vision, the big picture, taking control, daring decisions, boldness, and optimism. And in a finance reading, the King of Wands indicates financial wisdom and financial stability. It's a very bold and hopeful card, and you're in good hands when the King of Wands shows up. Next to the King of Pentacles, the King of Wands is positive in a finance reading, definitely. The third jumper was the Queen of Pentacles. Now, the Queen of Pentacles represents prosperity and security. And in a finance reading, the Queen of Pentacles indicates abundance and success on the way. And like the King of Wands, she also represents financial security because she's responsible with her finances, and she can balance her checkbook, and she knows how to invest. And the Queen of Pentacles is sitting on a very stable and comfortable pot of gold. So she's a wonderful card to pull. Now, onto the regular spread. So I choose my cards intuitively. I hover over the deck. I will show you my process in a future video, but I hover my hand over a spread out deck, and the cards that I pull are drawn to me. It's almost like a magnetic energy. It's I can feel them calling. I can feel their energy as I hover over the particular cards, and those are the cards I pull. And that's how I intuitively choose my cards in a spread. And I do a 3-card spread typically, and the first card I pulled for the regular spread represents the recent past, and that card was the Sun reversed. Now, the Sun reversed in tarot indicates a time of sadness and pessimism. But when the Sun comes out, even when it's reversed, there's always light and hope with the Sun. So there's always a strand of hope and sunshine, or a ray of hope and sunshine coming, regardless of what position it's in. And that's a really good sign, especially during this period in the markets, definitely. So the Sun reversed can represent a new opportunity on the horizon. Even, like I said, when the card is reversed. So new opportunities is sort of the theme so far with this spread. Now, in this reading, in the finance perspective, I interpret it to mean that in relation to the markets today, that hardship is temporary. And we're going to be looking at the easing of worry. We're going to be realistic, but hopeful for the future. And again, that's a positive message, and that's what I intuitively took away from that card. Now, the current situation, which is the middle card in a 3-card spread. And in the current situation, I pulled the 9 of Swords. And again, this was reversed as well. Now, the 9 of Swords reversed represents the light at the end of the tunnel after dark times. So that seems to be the theme in these cards so far. It's a pretty strong message when you start going through them one at a time. And in this reading, I interpret the 9 of Swords reversed to mean that we're looking at the easing of anxiety. We're looking at recovery and clarity. There's going to be an understanding of what direction we're going to. There's going to be a lot of questions are going to be answered in the near term. And after Powell's speech as well, there will be clarity. So the third card I pulled for the 3-card spread. The final one represents the near future, and that was the 3 of Swords reversed. Now, this card, when you look at it, that's not a great card to get. It represents heartbreak. It's 3 swords stabbing a heart. But in a reverse position, it's not quite as severe. Picture those swords, that heart and those swords sitting upside down, and the swords, gravity pulling those swords out of the heart. They're going to fall out of the heart. So that's showing that the biggest maximum pain has been reached, and there's a turnaround coming. So that's, to me, a very powerful card to have in today's environment. So, like I said, this 3 of Swords represents a heartbreak that's not as bad as it could have been. It also represents overcoming unhappiness, overcoming heartache, sorrow, and sadness. So in this reading, in a finance perspective, I interpreted the 3 of Swords to mean the end of pain regarding investments. Finding the financial instability and clarity again that we need. So a lot of stability, clarity, and prosperity coming in the near term. This is a strong underlying theme in this spread. I think moving forward, speaking to that, again, we'll see the economic environment much more clearly, and we will find an enduring direction. And I think that's good. Now, I also take a look at the card on the bottom of the deck, and to me, that's the foundation of the reading. And in a finance perspective, I look at the bottom of the deck as speaking to the market sentiment right now, or during the time of the reading. And the Ace of Cups reversed is a depressing card. This was not a happy card, and it just goes to show the anxiety, the worry, and the sadness, and the disappointment, and the frustration that has been ongoing, and it has been the sentiment and the underlying foundation of this market for the last while. And so, the Ace of Cups reversed is kind of the perfect card to pull to show how things feel at this moment. And it is a gloomy card, but it has It shows that you've endured emotional instability or pain for some time. That's the truth. There's a loss that's indicated here, and perhaps something is no longer giving you the joy that it once had. And that's so true. A lot of loss going on, and there's not a lot of joy in the markets and excitement. And it's certainly a far cry from the excitement of a good bull run. That is for sure. So in this reading, I interpret the Ace of Cups reversed to mean, again, frustration and disappointment and sadness regarding finances. That's clear. There's just really no other way to interpret that card, I don't think, in this reading. Now, I think it's important to note that tarot is not a precise science. Tarot does not speak to a specific timeline. Just as it's very difficult to time the market, it's also very difficult to try and nail down the exact timing in a tarot spread. Now, to me, when I take a look at the jumper cards and the Ace of Cups reversed on the bottom of the deck, and you look at this in a bigger, take a step back and look at it in a bigger picture, it says to me the current and near term is going to be really volatile with lots of ups and downs and feelings of frustration and sadness. It's going to be a continuation of pain for the next little bit. I think this frustrating bear market is going to continue, but overall the outlook is extremely positive. And those jumper cards say to me that when the markets rebound, and they will sooner than later, I think, the returns are going to be immense. Like, it's going to be a massive rally. It's going to have so much energy behind it. It'll be historic and pronounced. Now, I keep seeing the word November in my mind's eye. Now, perhaps November will see the beginnings of this positive shift. When I look at the Ace of Cups reversed here, I see 3. I'm thinking it feels like 3 months, a very brief period, but I see 3 blocks of time. So I'm thinking in my mind's eye. So I'm thinking 3 months. I'm sensing that. Now, as I said already, timing is very difficult with tarot, but that's what I sense. So I'm going to go with it. I'd say we're in a volatile nasty bear market for at least the next 3 months. So now let's take a look at how I interpret these cards in respect to the question I had asked regarding Jay Powell at the FOMC meeting. So again, I had asked, how will the markets react after Fed Chair Jay Powell speaks at the FOMC meeting on the 21st of September? So my initial intuitive interpretation, and I recorded this on my Facebook page and I timestamped it. My intuitive interpretation was that despite all the negativity, there's also been a thread of hope that has seen some positive trends, and that'll start to emerge in the markets, and the instability will ease up a bit. Now, at this FOMC meeting, there will be a shift in messaging for Powell, and he will share a deeper and different perspective and present some new, fresh ideas and information. So that's my intuitive interpretation on the 20th of September when I pulled these cards in regards to Powell and the meeting and the markets. So now that we can reflect back a little bit, let's take a look at this. So if you look back to his speech of the 21st of September, he does change his tune. Powell does change his tune about recession risk. There was a different message in that he was saying recession is possible and the risk is definitely there, and he embraces it, saying that it might be necessary to turn this inflation problem around and to avoid entrenched inflation. Markets did not like this. It was a much, much more hawkish tone than what was expected and that what he has shown in the past. He also said that he expects the Fed to raise interest rates higher and to keep them there longer. This was a new announcement that really sunk into the markets. They really didn't like that. And he mentioned the Fed fund rate reaching 4.5% by next year, and he explains in detail why the Fed is looking at this rate. Now, this commentary is much more in depth than previous speeches, and it dives deeper into what the Fed as a whole is thinking, and took a lot of speculation and guesswork out of many people's minds when it comes to the Federal Reserve Bank and what they're doing right now in regards to how they're tackling inflation. So I see this as the shift in messaging that the tarot indicated. So then moving on, I also wrote that his speech will help calm some of the recent volatility and help forge a new path forward. There will be a lessening of anxiety and the end of heartbreak, at least in the near future. The markets will regain some of their recent losses. Now, in actuality, S&P did see an immediate bounce right after Powell's remarks, but then it saw an immediate downturn. So it was a real spike and down, a real reversed V look, definitely. But I saw this as a bit of a brief calm before the storm. Buyers are still buying. There was still a rush to buy. So there's still buyers in this market, and that's a good sign. But with that said, there's been a lot of, and I wrote this, there's been a lot of disappointment and frustration in the markets, and this remains so for the next while. The question is, who will be feeling the most frustration and disappointment in the near term? My feeling is that it'll be the bearers who will feel this the most. Then, as I mentioned, there was an immediate bounce from Powell's speech and then an immediate downward spiral. And then we saw declines over several days before the market started moving sideways for a few days. And, that sideways move was kind of, to me, some of that forecast of stability. I see the downward trend in the volatility as more frustration and disappointment, as indicated by the reverse Ace of Cups. And this is the underlying tone of the reading. It certainly has been the underlying tone for the market in 2022. And I do think that this is going to continue for 3 months, at least 3 months, like I said earlier. Anyway, moving on. So the right afterwards, so we went stagnant for a few days, and the S&P saw a dramatic rally upwards. It rose almost 2% on the 27th of September before moving sharply downwards to end the day pretty much flat. So that's more frustration. And then on the 28th, stocks climbed to almost another 2%, then dives again on the 29th and 30th by almost 4% before the selling is over. It's more disappointment, and the roller coaster continues. But then on the 3rd, the S&P started a very impressive rally upwards and started the Q4 with a bang, and it climbed 2.6% The rally continued on October 4th, which also saw gains close to 3%. And then the market regained some of its losses. And again, that was predicted by the tarot as well. So some of those losses were regained. Those are pretty strong, unusually strong rallies. So that was interesting. And then, of course, the markets took another downward trip on October the 7th, plunging 2.8%. But, even with all the volatility and selling action in the last couple of weeks, the market still managed to end the week up. Last week, the week of October 7th, ending October 7th, the markets closed up. So that's a positive trend. Again, is this a sign of stability the tarot was talking about? Have we seen the bottom? Has the bottom been hit? And are we just at the beginnings of a new upward trend? And that's starting now or soon? Are the bears going to get trapped like I intuitively felt? And that's pretty interesting. Even some of the talking heads and the Wall Street types on CNBC and some of the other programs started mentioning a more bullish take and bears getting trapped. So I thought that was really interesting. This is after the reading. Lately, the last couple of days, this commentary started to rise on the finance channels. So who knows? Anyway, so my final prediction with the markets, as I've mentioned already a few times to me, with the tarot as a guide, we're going to be staying in a period of sustained volatility with sharp upward and downward moves for the next little while. The Ace of Cups again reverses the foundation of the markets and at the moment, and I feel we will stay in a somewhat broad but stable trading range though, and that'll speak to the more stability for these markets. It may not be a lot of substantial gains or big bounces upwards. There'll be a few big bounces, but they're going to moderate. They'll level out. They'll go sideways for a while. There's going to be a range of ups and downs, and I don't think it'll be too extreme. Either way, I think it'll be a bear market trading range. But time will tell. But I keep going back to the jumper cards in this reading. They were very, very positive, and that says to me that financial abundance and some positive moves are coming in the not too distant horizon. And the trend is going to start climbing upwards on the S&P 500 into the rest of the year. And those jumper cards are consistent with other cards I pulled in other spreads over the last number of months. They've been very, very positive. So there's something really big coming around the corner. Anyway, that's it for today. If you like this video, help me grow this channel. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. I'll be posting videos regularly, and I'll also include readings on such topics like the wall of worry and on important economic data, some geopolitical stuff as it unfolds. And so stay tuned to see what the cards have to say. Thanks for watching. See you next time.